This is an emergency broadcast alert. This is not a test. This is an extinction level event. This is not a test. This alert is active until further notice. Stand by for important information.
Mankind, that word should have new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united in our common interests. And you will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution. From annihilation. From annihilation. From annihilation.
The difference of this forced industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing, it changes you. It doesn't change what you are doing, it changes you. It doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. It changes you. It changes you.
It is my opinion that you do not really understand the concept of banking. All the banks are broke. Bank Santander, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, they're all broke. And why are they broke? It isn't an act of God. It isn't some sort of tsunami. They're broke because we have a system called fractional reserve banking, which means that banks can lend money that they don't actually have. It's a criminal scandal and it's been going on for too long. To add to that problem, you have moral hazard, a very significant moral hazard from the political sphere. And most of the problem starts in politics and central banks, which are part of the same political system. We have counterfeiting, sometimes called quantitative easing, but counterfeiting by any other name. The artificial printing of money, which if any ordinary person did, they'd go to prison for a very long time. And yet governments and central banks do it all the time. Central banks repress the amount of interest that rates are, so we don't have the real cost of money. And yet we blame the real retail banks for manipulating LIBOR. The sheer effrontery of this is quite astonishing. It's central banks that manipulate interest rates, Commissioner. And plus, underneath all this, we talk loosely, in a rather cavalier fashion, do we not, about deposit guarantees. So when banks go broke through their own incompetence and chicanery, the taxpayer picks up the tab. It's theft from the taxpayer. And until we start sending bankers, and I include central bankers and politicians, to prison for this outrage, it will continue.
It's one of Melbourne's best kept secrets, hidden under the city, a network of tunnels with a surprising history. A 7 News special investigation has uncovered some of them, but Melbourne's top archaeologist says there could be many more.
There are tunnels in Melbourne everyone knows about, and others no one knew were there.
I'm sure there are some structures around town that we haven't yet uncovered.
Jeremy found this one under Lonsdale Street.
Yeah, we think it was used for telecommunications. It may even have been an underground laboratory.
In Northcote there's a tunnel no one can explain.
There just seems to be a complete lack of any information.
It's now off limits, but Mark spent years clearing it out, convinced it hides wartime equipment. There's even a network of tunnels under the CBD.
Brick and bluestone tunnels, beautiful workmanship, street signs in the tunnels to tell you which road, which street you were under.
And they probably relate to the operation of the telegraph office around the 1880s.
Under Punt Road, there's a tunnel from a wartime spy base, now the police college, to the German consulate. It's rumoured to have been a listening post. There are reports that a tiny mail train like this one in London ran from the GPO to the Lonsdale Street Mail Exchange. And below the bustle of Southern Cross Station, a tunnel which once ran beneath Spencer Street. When mail trains carried large cash payrolls, that money needed protection. So this room, beneath Southern Cross Station, was used by the train guards as a pistol range for target practice. Fitzroy retailer Foy and Gibson is long gone, except for a tunnel beneath Smith Street that funnelled shoppers between its two stores.
A little bit like the current shopping centres do now, where you sometimes don't know where the exit is. So it's all about keeping you there and spending your money.
And the tunnel that never was, up the Eastern Freeway, part of the long-proposed Doncaster Railway, and the reason why the overpasses have no centre pylons. Dean Felton, 7 News.
So today we're going to measure how much radiation is emitted by these AirPods. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the meter. Thank you. And you should note that the phone that we're filming on is currently on airplane mode so as not to interfere with the ambient radiation levels that are being measured currently. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open up the AirPods and put them on and let's see what happens.
You're gonna wear those?
Not anymore.
Coolio was telling me about how a couple of, I'm not gonna say no names, but some big top hats of the industry were coming at him. Males, by the way, were coming at him asking for sex. You know, they were coming at him talking about some child trafficking stuff, and you know, we were gonna expose it all.
There's a lot of shit I know that I want to tell people. It's a lot of things that I want to teach, but I'm afraid. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm scared because I got 4 grandchildren, and I got children that are in this world. I got people I care about, and I got people that I care about that don't necessarily believe what I believe.
Yeah,
and I'm not. I have no fear of death, and I think that those that would oppose my beliefs, they've probably done enough. If somebody's after me or if somebody's watching me, then they know enough about me to know that I have no fear of death. So killing me don't mean shit. It just confirms that what I said was true. But I do have a fear of them hurting my family. So I'm quiet about certain things. I don't talk about everything I know because I don't want nobody in my family to be hurt.
I'm gonna be real. I'm upset. So many different things that we were gonna talk about, exposing the industry, exposing a lot of the stuff that's happening in this nation, dealing with the government, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember he was telling me he was worried about talking about certain things because he didn't know what they would do to his family. He wasn't worried about what they would do to him. He was worried about his children. And I was telling him, nah, don't even think like that. You know, just let's do this for the people. And in fact, we could do it educationally. So it could almost seem as if it will be flying up under the radar, but you know, we don't got to go straight direct with it.
I don't want to say political power, but the amount of social power that I was able to achieve. You would think that I would be a prime candidate for this to be, so we could call it something, to be a member of the Illuminati or a member of the elite society or whatever. You would think that they would come at me, and I think they did it sideways though. Nobody never got at me directly and said, we want you to join us and we're doing this. That's never happened. But I will tell you, I've had motherfuckers come at me on some weirdo shit like on some gay shit. I've had motherfuckers come at me on some, oh, you should do this type shit. And I was like, what? Man, why the fuck would I do that? That make no sense. I view that as being inhuman. I view that as I would never do that.
You know, that's what made me, you know, was like, oh, what? He passed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I was like, hold up, whoa. Because I remember we had a conversation. He was telling me that he was going to do some interviews and he was going to talk about some of this stuff. And I was telling him, I said, just scratch the surface. You don't got to get in full detail with everything. And, you know, he was like, I know, I'm, you know, I was like, yeah, because even though, you know, you want to get this stuff out right now. And that's what he was telling me, you know, he was like, it's mainly about, he want to be there for his children. And, you know, it's just a lot of stuff that was happening behind the scenes that you guys didn't know about. And it was just unfortunate that we, the brother's no longer here with us in the physical, but he is with us here in the spiritual.
You guys have already heard the gaffe with Biden and the dead lady. I don't think that was a gaffe. I am of the opinion that they took her out. And that his statement of, oh, she was supposed to be here is a jab at what they did. She was also working on a bunch of things to do with child trafficking. People might call that coincidental. Not to me. I don't believe in coincidence. You mentioning her and continuing, you mentioned the others. You know she wasn't there. That was intentional. That was a shot across the bow. A reminder.
All this talk about the border not being important, like, then why do we have it? What are you saying?
Yeah.
Like, is this a real issue that thousands of people are coming across every day? That seems like it's an issue.
Of course it is.
The thing when they shipped them off to Martha's Vineyard.
Pretty funny.
Come on.
I mean, it's fucked up, but it's pretty funny.
It's fucked up and funny, and the response was fucked up and funny.
Yeah, it was
immediate. They immediately took. We don't have room for these people. They just immediately 50 people.
They all of a sudden they start sounding like everything that they called racist right away. You know, like it's just kind of like you know, like, well, this is a big issue and it's a strain on our resources, and they have to go somewhere else. But we're still the good guys and we love them. But we simply at Martha's Vineyard cannot accommodate 50 people.
50,
like, dude. There's 2 million coming in this year.
Who just came across the border.
I mean, and you know,
2 million.
Yeah,
2 million people have snuck across the border this year.
Yeah.
Is that the number?
Well, it's projected to be 2 million for the year.
Everything's stalled out. Russia's stuck in the embarrassment of a Ukraine quagmire. They could have taken Ukraine inside of 3 weeks, but didn't. They're holding back. Why? China's too scared to invade Taiwan. They're holding back. Why? The FBI should have been able to devour Mar-a-Lago and Trump once and for all. The FBI has never launched a full-scale raid without an arrest. 2 weeks out, they've got nothing. They're holding back. Why? The reason Russia, China, and the Democrats' DOJ are all holding back is because they don't know what Trump is going to do with them in 2025. The greatest advantage the entire world has against evil actors right now is that Donald Trump remains more powerful as a sitting candidate for president than anyone in 4 generations. The threat of Trump's return is doing more right now to restore the balance of power on the national and international stage than anything the insulting high-heel limping men in dresses in Biden's cabinet could possibly do. While Biden went hat in hand begging the Saudis for oil, Trump began to export more oil than we imported for the first time in 70 years, showing them who the real boss was. Where was Biden's ceremonial sword dance? Here's Trump being showered with Saudi Arabia's finest cultural displays. This was the Saudis acknowledging the first real power they've seen since General Eisenhower. In case you need reminding, the weight of what I just said is in the fact that Saudi Arabian tribes would still be living in tents were it not for the American Eisenhower generation. The Saudis don't roll out the red carpet for puppets like Biden. They just expect Biden types to kiss their feet. Remember when Trump pushed his way to the front in that swarm of NATO leaders? He'd have been justified if this was ego-driven, but it wasn't. Trump was pushing his way to the front for America. He was, and is, a man who can't stand for America to be last on anything. And the world knew it. He didn't have to prove that he owned his own 747. He didn't have to prove he owned his own golf course in Scotland or 90-story buildings in Manhattan and Chicago. He didn't have to prove any of this. After all, most of these bureaucratic NATO leaders still have car payments in their respective countries. Trump didn't have to be there for any of it. Trump was there for one reason: to put America first.